In the last video, we looked at how we could make this basic laser cut photo frame out of some MDF and some acrylic. And it was just taking the design from a drawing through to our CAD model. In this video, we're going to look at how we can extend that. And the aim here is to look at how we can actually join these together without damaging them and make it part of our design, and also add a stand. And we're going to look at an extra function with making the stand and the alignment of it. So we're going to start off with how we can join these together. Well, the best way to do this would be with the MDF standard adhesive. That's fine. But when it comes down to the acrylic, putting any sort of adhesive from a clear acrylic onto the MDF is going to look really nasty, to be honest with you. It's going to show through. Even a little bit of super glue is going to look a little bit naughty. So what we're going to do instead, we can assume that we're going to glue the MDF together. That's fine. But then we're going to attach the acrylic to the back panel of the MDF with a simple machine screw and a nut. So we need to make the holes for those. Now I've got my hole file selected here, and I'm going to use the hole tool. So the hole tool is a really handy tool. I've got it selected over here. I'm going to press on my surface and it gives me a very large hole. The first thing we're going to do is adjust the diameter of that hole. So the bottom right over here in the bottom of this section is the diameter, and we're going to make this a 3mm diameter hole. Now, the next is our references. Where do we want this? Well, we want this center of this to be 5mm from the top, and then the side is 5mm again. Now, do not be tempted to press enter here. If you're tempted to press enter, be very careful, because what will happen is that will finish this selection options here. So make sure you've got the right options selected. What we want is a flat bottom, and we only need to, we could leave it as it is. It says 24mm going all the way through. It doesn't matter if we go too far through in this scenario, but it's a good habit to get into, only going as far as we need. Well, what we're going to do here with distance is going to go 2, and we're going to go to the end of that surface. So we go the correct distance. So there I've got, there's 9mm, which is correct, and it's positioned 5mm from either corner, and I can press now OK. And I've got that hole, and you can see that hole has gone all the way through because I've got everything selected. I'm going to do that in all 4 corners. I'll show you it again. The hole tool, I want it on this surface here, and it's remembered my settings. 3mm diameter, and then I'm going to select my top here, 5, and I don't have to press this select over here. I can just select that line automatically, press 5, and it's remembered my distance of 9, but I don't want it to be distance. I want it to go to this here. And the reason I'm doing that is if for any reason I change the thickness of any of these materials, it will automatically update that. If I don't do this, and I'd leave it as a depth of 9mm, I changed this acrylic to 5mm acrylic, for example, this would only have the hole going through 9mm still, which means it would stop part way through the back piece there. And that's not what we want. So I've got 2 done. I'll do the last 2 now quickly. Place it here. Select that. Press 5. Select that. Press 5. Spin around. Change my distance to 2. That surface. That's that one done. And the last one. Shortcut is H, by the way. Just press H. You can get the hole tool up. No, that's 3. That's not correct. 5. 5. Spin around to the back. Distance of 2. There. And that's done. So I've got my holes. Now you could just put a nut on the back of the machine screw there, but we want to recess that nut nicely. So in order to do that, we need to draw the shape for the nut to sit into, because if the spacer panel is glued in place, then when the nut goes in, it's going to push against that spacer panel, pulling the acrylic in tight. So we can do that nice and easily. And what we will do is we will activate the back panel And we can right click on that surface and do create sketch. So what we need to do for this, if I look at one of my circles here, one of my holes, I'm going to create a polygon. So we're going to do, we've got three options here: edge polygon, inscribed polygon, or circumscribed polygon. Inscribed polygon means that the widest points of the polygon are on a certain diameter. A circumscribed polygon means that the inside surfaces all touch that. So what we're going to go for is a circumscribed polygon, and we're going to do it in this center here. So as I hover over the center, I get a circle tool, or a little circle marker, saying that this will be concentric to that circle. Concentric means perfectly aligned horizontally and vertically, have the same center points. I'm going to drag it out. Now, what we need here is a diameter across of 5.5. So the radius here, as it's showing me, there's 3. So I want that radius to be 2.75. And I can just press enter. I'm going to do the same over here. So create polygon, circumscribed polygon. I've got my concentric marker here, pull across. You notice as I'm going straight across to the side, my hexagon is staying nice and orientated, not like that. So 2.75 and press enter. I'm going to do the 2 down the bottom here. What I could do to save myself some time is draw a line and make it a construction line and snap it to the midpoint. So you see the little triangle symbol, that means that's a midpoint. Go across to the other midpoint, or perfectly straight. You see it says 0 degrees. I can click that, press escape. I can select, it wants to select everything. I can select those 2 parts there, press mirror, and have my mirror line. Oh, it's selected everything, isn't it? Press my mirror line here, and it's given me my 2 hexagons. It's also tried to copy some of the lines, but they'll make no difference here whatsoever. So I can press finish sketch, catch up, and I can go to extrude. I can select these profiles I want to extrude, which are the hexagons. Don't worry about the inside of the circle. When that doesn't select, there's nothing there to extrude anyway. So I would like these to extrude through this material, but only to the other side of the material. So I can do my distance as 2. And because I've got these other parts here, I can't select that. I could spin it around here and select that surface, or what I can do, which I'm more tempted to do and I want to show you, is I can hide the spaces and even the front panel and allow me to select that surface there. And you can see that as it's going through, it's automatically chosen to cut the material. It knows it's going through material, so it's chosen to cut it. So I can press OK. I've now got those hexagons there that an M3 nut can sit inside, and the holes for an M3 machine screw. Nice and easy. Right, we're now going to look at adding a stand. I want the stand to come off the back here, come down, and just keep it at a slight angle. So I'm going to look at the left point here. I'm going to select my whole product. I'm even going to save my work before I continue, just as a good habit. I'm going to create a new component, and this is going to be my stand. Now I'm in my stand. As you see, everything else has gone a ghostly color. I'm going to do a new sketch on this surface. Now I want my product to be angled at probably 5 to 10 degrees. So angling back a little bit, just to give it a nice stable position. So I need to know whereabouts my stand's going to come to, and how far back the stand goes determines what angle it's at. We can be relatively accurate with this, but only to a degree. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to make it a construction line, and I'm going to hover over here. It doesn't matter about the length. What matters is the angle. I'm going to have the angle at 7.5 degrees. So between 5 and 10 degrees, 7.5, and that's there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to fix unfix. So no matter what I do, I cannot move that line. I'm then going to deselect construction line. So I'm going to go with my line tool and I'm going to have my stand finishing about here. And I'm going to come up to my design. Now I want to stop at where this line is. So if I zoom in, I can actually get onto these grid lines. I can stop about there. This doesn't need to be overly accurate as long as it is accurate where it starts and stops. The angle of these bits is up to your preference. Along with the next part, which is how thick it is. So I'm going to come up about here, do 40. Right, click on that, and then we're going to come back down. Now, as you can see here, they're showing me the angle. But when I stop there, I get two little markers on each line. They're double backslashes, and that means it's on both the lines, they're parallel. So they're parallel to each other. So because they're parallel to each other, they're going to be nice and straight. So where they're parallel, I know that they're nice and aligned. It's going to look really nice. It's not going to look sort of like that sort of shape. It's going to look quite nice. We're not finished yet though. We need where this is going to attach to the back panel. So I'm going to do from around about there across. I want a width of 3, definitely. And I'm setting that measurement. And a height. Well, we'll do 25 on the height. Okay. We now want to dimension where that's positioned. So if I go from this point here to this point here, it says 6.5 and then some zeros and 969. I want it, this 25mm section here to be in the middle of the 40. So 40 minus 25 is 15. So I can do 15 divided by 2. And it'll do the maths for me. And what that's done is it's moved it around. And voila, we're good to go. So that's now ready to go. But yeah, these corners are going to be quite sharp. I don't want that to be the case. So if I go to create, so if I go to the fillet tool, I can fillet that corner there. And I can select multiple corners as well. And it gives me a nice rounded corner for that bit there. I don't really need to worry about it up here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a separate fillet for these bits up here. They're not going to be 6mm like that one. They're going to be much, much, much smaller. 0.5mm on there is just enough to take any sharp edges off. Now you get a lot of little markers on here, but if I zoom in, you can see it. The same here. I'm not, however, going to put any fillets here or here, because they're not going to be needed. And in fact, any fillets on these edges here will cause more problems. So I'm going to finish my sketch. I've got this in the exact position I want it almost. It's definitely in the right height and the right depth. So what I can do is I'm going to extrude my profiles. And annoyingly, this is in the way of extruding. If I press that one first, now it lets me extrude that one. So I couldn't select them before. And I'm going to do 3mm thickness. Before I go any further and try and move it, I'm going to save my work. I'm then going to go to the inspect option. So this lets me to measure. I'm going to measure. I think I'm going to hide the back panel for now, just so I can get to all the parts I want to. I'm going to measure from here to that line there, and it tells you my height is 25mm. That is really handy. Good to know that. Now we know that the width here is 170. If I click on that line, I can see that 170. And 170 minus 3 is 167. Divided by 2 is 83.5. So I want this positioned from here to one of the edges as to 83.5. So now I'm going to do my joint, and I'm going to put the back panel back in, and I'm going to joint and I can't see the part I want to join. I'm actually going to move this out now. I'm going to join this surface here in the middle to the middle of this surface here, and it's upside down and the wrong way around. I can press the flip button here. That's correct. It's aligned along this way, but I need to move it down, and that's why we've done that first measurement of 25. I can just drag it down 25 to where I want it to be. That looks to me like it's in the right position. I've got my 25 measurement, and I'll measure how far it is from the side in a second just to double check. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to inspect from here to here. There you go. 83.5, as I thought it should be. I'm going to go to my whole file now. Before I go any further, I'm going to save. And what I want to do is I want to create that marked hole. So I'm going to make my front invisible just so I can see that. I want that to be a hole laser cut in the back. I could measure where that is, draw it out and extrude it. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the combine tool. Combine tool up here, really handy tool for things like this. I'm going to select the target body. That's my back piece. And my tool is my spacer, the one I just made. And it says operation. Do I want to join them, cut, or intersect? I want the cut option. So it's going to say use this tool to cut away from the target body. Use this spacer to cut away where they overlap from the target. And there's a function here called keep tools. So it keeps the tool after you've done this. If you don't press that, the tool disappears. So by keeping the tool, I've still got it. Press OK. I've still got my tool, and I've got all my body, my work. If I hide my stand, I've got the hole. It's taken that cut from where that's positioned. So that's been done. Only thing left to do now is to do the physical properties, and that's going to be MDF onto you, just like everything else. Close that, and to be the visual properties, MDF again. Done. So that done. That's how we've added a stand to it using a new tool called the combine tool to remove parts. We've also got the nut holes and the gene screw holes to actually fully assemble this properly. All right, give this a go. Good luck.